Hi everyone, I am Brittany the Cosmic Lunar Soul. Welcome to my channel if you're new. Welcome back to all my subscribers. Today we are doing another deck flip through. This is actually a Kickstarter, so let me read the information for you. This is the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle deck. It is by Serephina Mesa. Sorry Serephina if I pronounced your name wrong. Please let me know if I pronounced it wrong. She is actually a creator from Baltimore, so she is not far from my town that I'm currently living in. So that's so exciting to be supporting local artists. And so a little bit about this deck. On Kickstarter, this is described as a limited edition Oracle deck consisting of 48 cards, each with ties to the Earth, Moon, and the shadow-self. There's an accompanying companion book, complete with full descriptions and meanings, which we will obviously go over in this flip through. She did initial and number each deck, so I'm curious to see that. It makes it very more exciting. She explains each card was developed to work with different aspects of her shadow selves with compassion and purpose. As Carl Jung so eloquently put it, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. She goes on to say, my intention with the creation of this deck is to offer those embarking on a shadow work journey with tools and prompts that not only explore the dark crevices of the shadow with love and purpose, but to ultimately integrate our shadow selves into our conscious lives. Everything arrived wrapped up, and I opened it up before getting to you guys because there's a lot of layers with this. So it includes the book and the deck bundle here. It includes a bag here, which is perfect, and I'll explain why in a bit. And then includes some fun postcards. So this is actually a thank you card. It includes the art that you will see in this deck. And basically, it's just a thank you. So then here we have kind of like her little Pooh world. And I mean that as in Winnie the Pooh. She is designing and currently on Kickstarter has a Winnie the Pooh tarot. So if you were really big into Winnie the Pooh, you might want to go check it out. And I will make sure to put all the links in the description. So the campaign included some stretch goals. This bag was actually one of the stretch goals. The deck will also include 4 spread cards. And then there was an upgrade to the box and then an upgrade of the guidebook. So we'll see all of that in a second. All right, let's go ahead and get the bag out of the way. It is a nice canvas bag. It has her artwork on the front. Pretty simple. I guess these are like regular rope drawstrings here, and they just tighten up normally. And then you have your bag. So it's very well made. Serged edges on the inside, so you don't have to worry about fraying or loose threads or anything coming undone. And the corners are really well done as well. So nice thick bag. If you like to travel with tarot bags, this would keep your deck very well protected. It's not waterproof or anything, but will help from protect from quick splashes or sprays or anything like that. All right, let's get on to the good stuff. So we have this here, this book and deck bundled up together. It's so beautifully wrapped. I almost just don't want to even open it up, but I'm going to do it for you guys. And if you've ever purchased anything from me or purchased my spell jars, you know I am a sucker for wax melts. And let's go ahead and get that off. I feel like I'm unwrapping an early Christmas present the way this was all packaged. All right, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of ASMR of my unwrapping. Here is the guidebook. Here's the guidebook. This is a 6x4 guidebook. It is actually a chunky monkey considering how large it is. You can see it's larger than the box. It has full color front and back, but the inside is black and white and includes the full card descriptions on the inside. So let's go ahead and crack her open. I do want to point out that the artwork is by Kat L. Amsel. So the author is Serephina, but the artwork is by Kat. All right, so these pages are actually like that smooth semi-gloss. It smells interesting. I really like the smell of books. It includes all of the publishing information and then goes into my favorite here, the table of contents. There's a quote here by Pema Chodron. Hopefully I said that right. But basically the book is laid out. We have acknowledgments, dedications, preface from the author, from the artist, and then we get into more so introducing the actual deck and all of that. So we go through the introduction, working with this oracle, cleansing, connecting with this oracle, trigger and transformation cards. That's interesting. Card spreads, the cards, and then it goes on to other stuff. As above, so below, autumn winds, awakening, bleeding heart, blood moon. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm silly. The cards. And these are the cards. Okay, so, yeah, I had it backwards for human factor reasons. But, and then it ends up with about the creator and then a glossary. Interesting. I'm going to skip to the glossary because I'm going to see what that's about. Oh, okay. The glossary has definitions of some of the things that are laid out here, some of the people. So it explains things like collective unconscious or bodhicitta. I'm sure I butchered that. It explains who Carl Jung is, what they mean by the cosmos. So that's really good. I think that's really thoughtful because it helps make sure that everybody is using the terms with the same expectations. And I think that's really important. So let's go back to the beginning, or I should say the start of the book. I'm going to skip through all of this really. And it's funny, I'm saying I'm going to skip through and it says, please read before going further. The reason it has that is because, again, this deck is meant for shadow work. Shadow work is very difficult. It is a very long and arduous process. So this is just like a warning saying like, hey, if you're not ready for this, then perhaps, perhaps you should prepare. So there are some trigger warnings in here, and I think that they're laid out pretty thoughtfully, I should say. And it's just explaining that the trigger warning has some sensitive subjects about the author, and from time to time they may touch on sensitive subjects. In the introduction, it touches on what shadow work is. A lot of people, especially if you back this deck, you probably already have a good idea of it, but basically what it says here is that shadow work refers to gently working with the unconscious mind to integrate the shadowy parts of ourselves that we have hidden away from our conscious lives. So that is basically the gist of it. And it explains that these shadows are a culmination of our traumatic and confusing experiences and make up the parts of our identity that we are subconsciously ashamed, embarrassed, or even afraid of. So that means shadow work is not for the sleight of heart. But I am not saying that to veer you away. It's just a general warning because I think everybody should do shadow work. And one of the main things of shadow work that people don't realize is that therapy is shadow work. So if you're going to therapy, you are practicing shadow work. So the working with this oracle section is really nice because what it does is it will help you prep for shadow work. So a lot of the prep, if you practice spell work or anything like that, it's all very similar. It's saying to hydrate and nourish your body. Create a safe space for yourself. That could be casting a circle, carrying around a ward, or just being in a room that you feel safe and comfortable in. Ground and center yourself. And this goes into suggesting tune into healing Hertz music, and then to also banish any negative energy and invite positive in. And that's a lot of the basic steps that I take when I do spell work, minus casting a circle or tuning into healing music. Cleansing and connecting with this oracle. I like how mindful everything is. Everything is from the perspective of the self in this book. Whereas, like, I probably don't mention it often, but I'm not a fan of this whole, you must cleanse and charge your deck. It's very frou-frou. It's very much like, it's very new agey. And I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. It's just, I'm not a fan of that. So I like how this tunes back into cleansing and grounding, which really puts the onus back on oneself, instead of saying like, oh, the deck is this like spiritual thing and all the responsibility lies on the deck. No, you as the reader, the responsibility lies with you and within. So it puts like a little ritual around it where you are the focus and you and the deck are the focus together, I should say. But I'm not gonna, belay that, because I feel like if you didn't purchase it, then I shouldn't share the deets. Okay, this is interesting. So there are trigger and transformation cards. I'm gonna go ahead and just read this. There are no limitations to how this deck is used. Every reader and current has their own style. The following was designed to offer another layer of insight into this oracle and provide helpful guidance when working with the shadow. Ultimately, it is up to the reader's discretion to use the deck in the way that feels most intuitive. But this is what the trigger cards are. Working with different aspects of the shadow can be very triggering, especially in the beginning. While we may be open to working with whatever shadows arise from our work, we may not always be ready or prepared to handle the feelings that surface. When trigger cards appear in any reading, they will act as a warning to the reader, indicating that this particular shadow may be difficult and sensitive to work with. And this is the time to check in with ourselves. We also have transformation cards. Transformation cards shine a light on our evolution. And I like that there's this balance, because shadow work is not always this hot and heavy thing. It's also showing our progress as we become more in tune with our shadows, and that is the transformation. So while walking through this oracle and reflecting on the images, pull out the cards that stir up the strongest feelings of joy and inspiration. Identify the card or cards that fill us with a sense of purpose and drive, and reignite your childlike curiosity, and those will be your transformation cards. Now, what's cool is the transformation cards are up to you to decipher, which means this deck can really change as you progress with shadow work. And a lot of times shadow work will pick up on like a specific shadow. And then as you go through it and you work with it and it becomes part of your conscious self, you go back and you pick up on a new shadow, and then you can redo this exercise as you go through it. So those transformation cards could change throughout this entire process, and probably should change if you decide to do that. And same with the trigger cards. Here we get into the card spreads. I won't go too long into that because I'm sure this video will end up being 4 days long. Here we have the shadow reveal spread, attachment spreads, working with difficult shadow spreads, and working with difficult shadow spread. Working with different shadow spreads. Working with different shadows spread, shadow integration spread. All right, and that's the last one. So we get into the cards. I'm just gonna flip through a few of them because we're gonna see a lot of them, but let's skip through. Here we have the cold moon. The name of the card is at the top. They have the keywords, a little quote from different people. I'll go through and see if there are quotes everywhere. And then it goes through and gives a spiel about the cold moon. It also includes the artwork, which I really like. So there's even references at the bottom. The college APL MLA girl in me is like really digging this, because that means I can, if I really connect with a card and there's some reference in here, I can dive deeper into that reference. And I've never had that in a book, I don't think. Not laid out on a single page, maybe all in the back of the book. So it seems like there are quotes for all of the cards. They range from different people of different religious and cultural backgrounds. And if you are really into like history and stuff like that, I think that would be really cool. It seems like each card starts on the right side, so that means there's a lot of information devoted to the card. If you, like, say you don't want to travel with the entire deck, I like when guidebooks have the pictures, because you can open it up and use it like bibliomancy style, and you kind of get the full experience. So here are the about sections. We have about the artist, about the author, the author's commentary on witchcraft. She says, "I call myself witch because I've claimed my power and accept responsibility for crafting my own life and experience." And this is a quote by Deanne Curry, Dancing with the Goddess. So I think that's awesome. And then we get in, there's a cool little sigil here in the back, and then we get into the glossary. Honestly, immaculate book. I do have a personal pet peeve when books don't go into the deck or into the box, but I believe it'll fit in here just very tightly. So if I took, I don't think I'll have to test it at the end. I'm not sure if the cards would fit in here with it. Okay, here is the box. You can see just as I showed previously, has that same design, and it is fully colored all around, and it is a 2/3 closed lid box, so it doesn't need the thumb holes. This is fully matte, and it has the name on the front and the two long sides. We have the publisher at the bottom, which is by Rue and Vervain, which is Serephina's brand. And then on the top, it has a quote by Carl Jung. So you can see that there. On the back, we have some traditional example of the 3 cards. It explains that this is a 48 oracle card deck and includes a guidebook. So I wonder if there's a guidebook in here as well. The deck is designed to explore the dark crevices of the shadow self with compassion and purpose. So, you know, this is pretty unique. This is the only deck I have by this publisher. So, you know, that I like when you have options on how to store a deck. But the box is also unique too. So it's very obvious if you are storing your decks that this belongs to the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle. So let's go ahead, open it up. This is a really nice sturdy box. The inside is plain. I don't have any qualms about that. And it came with this little peanut to protect the cards. That's so cute. And it's because there's no guidebook to fill it in. So I'll show you that in a second. So you can see that there's a little gap here. So I'll probably keep this little peanut just to keep everything, you know, keep the cards from moving around too much. And then let's pull the guidebook out. Or deck rather. And again, the inside of the box is pretty standard, but it's nice and sturdy. Like, see, it doesn't squeeze in much. So this will be a good deck to travel in. When you have decks that close like this though, the lid tends to slide off easily. So I always recommend you put like a band around it if you're going to be traveling with it, just so you don't have any accidents and none of your cards slip out. I've never personally had that happen, but a lot of times I do band my boxes, so that won't ever happen. So I'm gonna put the little peanut back in. So let me take this off here. And we have here the authenticity card. So mine is deck 47, and you can see the initials here, and she drew her little sigil here. I love that. That must have taken so much time. But this is the 2020 first edition, and yeah, cool. So I mentioned for the Kickstarter, one of the stretch goals was actually spread cards. This really just tickles my tabletop heart. I love this. It reminds me of like when you get game decks a lot of times. So I also like this because I mentioned the guidebook is quite large. So if you choose not to travel with it, but you want to remember the spreads that are in it, you have it right here with your deck. So usually what I do with these cards, when I have extra cards in a deck, I take them and put them back to back, and they go in the bottom when I put them in the box, and that way they're easy to find. So let's go ahead and just prep for the flip through, and then we'll talk about the card stock, how it shuffles, and all of that jazz. All right, I'll be right back. All right, let's talk about the cards. These are 3 by 4.5 inches. They are 400 GSM core white paper, and they are an Eco Smooth varnish finish. So the varnish finish is that slick matte that I talk about a lot. There's very little, you see very little light being reflected back. It's quite lovely. I will say, even sometimes when cards are too matte, you know, the image could be a little like muted, but I will say that the colors on here just pop, and you can actually even see it on camera. Like, this is so vibrant. You can see that beautiful gradient that's happening. You can see the differentiation of all of the blues everywhere in this card. It's gorgeous. So let me talk about some of the artwork. I'm gonna pick out the cards that really just made me fall in love with the deck, and then we're gonna go talk about the shuffleability and stuff like that. So these are the two cards that just made me really fall in love with the deck. The level of diversity in this is really great. I like that there are cards that the person is front and center as the subject. Sometimes they're just in the scenery, and then other times the animals are front and center. Sometimes the animals are just in the scenery, and then other times it's just about the nature. And I think that creates this like beautiful variety of cards. So this just really, I was really drawn to this. So this is the Pathfinder, intelligence, keen insight, premonition. This reminds me very much of the High Priestess, and if you've seen my other tarot videos, I've mentioned a few times that I see myself in the High Priestess. So to see this card that looks like me and is a card that I feel like embodies the High Priestess to me was just instantly sold. And then here we have Thunder and Lightning. This is painful realizations and inner conflict. And I just love that this was a black man, because I feel like black men tend to deal with this a lot, and a lot of times it's not portrayed outside of themselves. And I feel like I'm not a black man, obviously, but if I were, I feel like to see this in a card would make me see myself in that card as well. So instead, I see a lot of my friends in this card, and it is a very emotional card for me. So let's go on to the shuffle. The cards have a really nice sturdiness to them. They're not too thick, not too thin, so I think it'll be good to shuffle. I did hurt my thumb, so hopefully I can get a nice riffle shuffle going. Bending this hurts. Oh, nice. That had a nice snappy riffle and bridge. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, look at that. Nice and clean. Okay, let's see how it overhands. Ooh, I'm glad these cards are not bigger and my thumb is aching. So these are actually a really, really nice size. I think this is the perfect size. I can get my hands completely around this deck. I have tiny, small hands. So I really appreciate the size of this. If you saw my flip through of the Everyday Witch Oracle, those are massive, massive Oracle cards. So I really appreciate that. Here is the back, and I'm sure this will look familiar. This was the image that you saw on the tarot bag. And the cards have a light border around them, but more or less these are borderless cards. It's just like a lined border that cuts through the image, but otherwise borderless. And I actually really like that because the artwork is quite beautiful. Now, I said in the beginning I'd test out after I pulled these cards out to see if this will fit in the bag with the guidebook. The guidebook's currently in there. Let's see if it'll fit comfortably. Oh, it did slide right in. It's a little on the tight side, but it cinches up well enough. I probably wouldn't cinch it too hard, just enough that the cards don't slide out. Yeah, so it fits. Nice. That means I can set this off in storage, keep this together. That way I have the guidebook and the deck all together, and I think that's quite awesome. Okay, the last thing that I have to test out, because I always test it for you guys, is how well it fans. Let's see. Oh man, this has a nice fan to it. I actually overdid it thinking I had to put more pressure than I needed. This has a really great fan. I just love this. The card stock is lovely. It's beautiful. I will say, if you do like to do reversals, the backs are fully reversible. So they're the same upright and reversed. I tend not to use reversals in my oracle decks, but you may decide you want to. All right, everyone, this was my flip through of the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle. I'm so excited. Again, I will put Serephina's information in the description. Please make sure you follow her over on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in the Winnie the Pooh Kickstarter, go ahead and check that out as well. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.